Talmor, Shishin Magachi. Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming, and death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Burntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I uncover the blasphemous truth of a plague-ridden world, that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The Heresies of Radolf Burntwine, coming January 2nd, wherever podcasts are available.
In 2005, two brothers hit the road to chase demons and fight monsters.
Fighting a couple of angels, too.
And eventually save the world.
A bunch of times. Over 15 years, this series has built one of the most dedicated fan bases in all of entertainment, and that fan base is near and dear to our hearts.
That's right. I'm Rob Benedict. I played Chuck Shirley, a.k.a. God.
And you do a darn good job, too, buddy.
Aw, thanks.
Well, I'm Richard Spade Jr. I played Loki, the Trickster, and Gabriel, and I directed a bunch of episodes.
Wow, is that it?
Well, I directed you. I don't know. What do you think?
Though we worked on the show for years, we never sat down and watched the entire series.
But that was then, and this is now.
That's right. We are watching each episode and inviting the actors, the writers, producers, and crew to join us in digging into the story, the characters, and the mythology.
These guests share some fantastic behind-the-scenes stories with us. You're going to love those, and you're going to get our honest opinion about each and every episode. That's right. Those guests share some fantastic behind-the-scenes stories with us, and each episode gets a full, honest, and unfettered review from Rob and Rich. And you get to learn a little bit about how TV is made. Lord knows we have.
A warning, there are spoilers. And don't get frustrated that we haven't caught details for multiple viewings, or that we know what happens 3 seasons from now. This is the first time we're watching these episodes. And you're there for the ride, as we watch with our virgin eyes.
Oh, that's creepy. Thanks for joining us on our journey as we deepen our understanding about why you love this series so much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rob Benedict.
And I'm Richard Spade Jr.
And we're talking about Season 5, Episode 16, Dark Side of the Moon. You know, I was thinking of naming our new album Dark Side of the Moon. What do you think?
Oh, not a bad idea. It's never been used before, so kind of groundbreaking.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, we're in the home stretch of Season 5, and the pressure is getting high. Will Sam become the vessel for Lucifer? Will Dean become the vessel for Michael? Will there be a showdown? Who would win? There's no way to tell.
Will Rob become the vessel for his own mustache?
It's crazy. We're in the home stretch of this season already.
We are on pins and needles. As far as I'm concerned, they're both going to die and the show's over. Over!
Yeah. Well, we'll get into it. But at the beginning of this episode, I was like, wow, show's over. Both boys have died.
Yeah, that's it. I moved on. I shut off the TV and I went to bed.
All right, well, let's get into it then. Sam and Dean are awakened by 2 masked men with shotguns.
Oh, no.
The brothers recognize them as fellow hunters, Walt and Roy.
The Disney brothers.
Oh, yeah. Walt tells Sam he can't just flip the switch on the apocalypse and walk away.
Yeah, no, he can't do that. That's uncool. And I'm with Walt on this one.
Right. So Walt then shoots Sam in the chest, killing him.
I'm not with Walt on that one.
No. Roy is hesitant to kill Dean.
Classic Roy Disney. Let Walt do all the dirty work.
Yep. Then Walt tells Roy he doesn't want to spend his days looking over his shoulder for Dean Winchester.
Who does, man? He'd never leave you alone.
And then Dean, of course, gives a somber warning like, you go ahead and do it, and I'm going to come back.
Let me tell you this. You go right there, and I'll be right there.
He then kills Dean with a shot to the chest.
Shot to the chest, and you killed Dean, darling. You give love a bad meme.
That's the end of the show, end of podcast. Well, thanks, guys. It's been fun.
End of the show. Rob, you can shave the mustache.
So Dean awakens in the Impala. He leaves the car and meets a 13-year-old version of Sam holding a box of fireworks.
Enter Colin Ford. As always, the best young Sam in the business.
That's right. It's great. Always great to see Colin Ford.
Yep.
They start shooting off the fireworks. Dean recalls that this is a happy memory of a past 4th of July.
Yep.
Suddenly, Dean finds himself alone again. Castiel is able to speak to him through the car radio.
Very changing channels.
Yeah.
When he was the kit car.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Castiel tells him that he's in heaven. And if he wants to find the real Sam, he'll need to keep following the road.
Follow the road. I follow the road.
Meanwhile, Sam is in a memory of a pleasant Thanksgiving meal with a childhood crush, Stephanie, and her family. Side note, not sure about Stephanie's hand on his leg. I
gotta tell you, that was the weirdest.
me
I'm
a
like,
bit.
what is going on?
Yeah.
That there's a grown. I know what they were kind of going for.
Sure, because
But
it's
it
his
was
memory.
grown
He
up
was-
Sam. It was
Yeah.
weird.
I think they could have done it without actually showing the hand. I feel like if that were today, we wouldn't have shown her hand on his leg. Awkward to shoot.
I agree. I agreed with you. I said that whole sequence is. I thought the whole sequence is weird.
So Dean arrives, and Sam accuses him of crashing his dream. Castiel communicates with the brothers again, this time through a TV in the family's house. Very 1984.
Yeah, very Max Headroom.
Yeah. He warns the brothers to keep moving to stay away from the bright light. They have a little poltergeist reference there.
Yeah.
It is Zachariah, and he wants to send them back to Earth to be the vessels for Lucifer and Michael. The boys think that's a good thing, but Castiel convinces them to stay in heaven and to try to find Joshua, heaven's gardener, just to, trim up around the hedges.
Yeah, man.
Supposedly, Joshua is still speaking with God. Castiel tells them to follow the Axis Mundi to find the garden. The brothers relive other memories, like when Dean was 4 with Mary. P.S. Hot mom alert. Right? Am I right?
No, you're not wrong. Sam was gorgeous in that sequence.
Gorgeous. Still is. And the time that Sam ran away from John and Dean. And the night before Sam left for college. And Dean's going like, this is a good memory for you? Do your Dean.
That is a murder! Garder!
Suddenly, Zachariah appears and pursues them. And he was great.
Kurt Fuller.
Our friend Kurt Fuller is really was
He's so
great
good.
in this. He was so good, so evil. A mysterious stranger in a wrestling costume appears and whisks them away to safety. The stranger is revealed to be none other than fan favorite Ash.
Ash is back.
And Ash says a very interesting thing in this moment. He says, "This ain't the first time you've been here. I mean, you boys die more than anyone I've ever met." And Dean says,
Roar!
and Ash says, yeah, you don't remember. God, angels, must have Windexed your brain. They've died many times before. We have to unpack that. I don't know.
That we as viewers of the show have not seen, is what I'm saying, right? Because we haven't seen them die a bunch, have we? No, we haven't.
No. And so I just don't know what that means. I mean,
Some parallel universe, there's a bunch of, they're getting killed a lot. I don't know. I thought
to me that's like season 13, 14, 15 other universes. I'm surprised that it's here. Anyway,
Yeah.
this is a trippy episode. So Ash's heaven is the Roadhouse. He's learned to speak Enochian and has hacked into the Angels' communication system. Pamela Barnes is there too. And Ash shows them a shortcut to Heaven's Garden, and the boys head out to find Joshua. They end up in another memory featuring Mary Winchester. However, things go dark.
Yeah, this goes real pear-shaped. This is not the same loving mother sequence we saw earlier.
No, she flashes yellow eyes. She tells Dean he was a burden. Zachariah shows up
And she's doing the grown-up with Kurt Fuller.
Yeah, and he kisses her neck.
Which, by the way, high five Kurt Fuller.
Yeah, which Kurt added into the script.
Nice going, Kurt Fuller.
So he shows up and he plans to torture the brothers for their insolence. Then Joshua arrives, and a character I quite like, and tells Zachariah to leave
great.
and release Sam and Dean or face God's wrath. Joshua tells Sam and Dean that God has been assisting them. He put them on that plane, resurrected Castiel, and even granted them salvation in heaven. But he is going to stop assisting further, and the amulet won't help them. He sends Sam and Dean back to Earth, healed and retaining their memories. They tell Castiel everything that happened. Castiel is frustrated with God's apathy. Sam still has hope they can defeat Lucifer. Dean isn't convinced and tosses the amulet in the trash.
What is he talking about? He put them on that plane. What plane?
There's some episode where they come to and they're in a plane, right?
But that's the one where they're super afraid, like early on, the season 1.
I vaguely remember it was kind of lost, but yeah, they're on a plane together. Yeah,
That's a deep cut reference.
And that's episode. So let's talk about it. I felt like there were a lot of things in this episode that were that are revealed in future episodes, but I was so early in the episode list. I was just surprised to sort of find these things out, that they've died before. Even the whole idea that God's been assisting them this whole time, which is true, but we just, as the person who played God, I'm not saying those lines until much later. And it's just interesting to me. Again, as someone who's never watched the show front to back, I'm surprised by how, I was about to say supernatural, how the boys themselves are supernatural characters. You know what I mean? To me, it was always a show about two boys fighting supernatural characters, sort of going into worlds maybe, but they were very rooted in reality. But the truth is, like, even Sam and Dean are experiencing otherworldly things, going to heaven and coming back to life and things like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Look, I found this episode confusing on a lot of levels. I thought this was a weird one, man. Even that plane reference. I remember when that was going on. He's like, I put you on the plane. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Like, it was... I know that the show veers from Monster of the Week to giant mythology arcs, but this was a giant mythology arc that I thought I bit off more than it could chew. I didn't think it made sense. Why does Zachariah not see them hiding behind a log?
Yeah, that was a read.
And then why do they get up and run right then when he's doing nothing but standing there? And they decide, let's run arbitrarily right now. And then he can just land in front of them constantly. And it became like a farce. It was just weird.
And also why, so they're both in heaven. They're both dead. They're both in heaven. Why are Sam's memories Dean's like worst memories? What's the meaning of that?
Well, I thought his heaven was like other people's families, and he wasn't as connected to his own family. Dean thinks of mom, and Sam thinks of another family having Thanksgiving.
Or that the memory is that time he ran away and he was by himself. Yeah, I guess that's it. It just shows that the boys have different views of what was good and what was bad about home.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is their happy place are dramatically different places.
Well, I really love the Joshua character. I hope that guy comes back. What a great actor he is, and I thought that was a really interesting character. Do we know if he comes back, Rich?
I do not know. I thought he was great. I had not seen him before, and I did not know. I also think that anytime you get Kurt Fuller in an episode, you're in for a treat. He's literally always great, and he was great and creepy and so sinister, and I love Kurt Fuller playing a dark. He's so gosh darn funny.
He's so funny.
Seeing him play this kind of stuff is just...
It's great.
So shockingly great.
It's great.
And Sam Smith playing evil was great. Like, I thought her turn was great.
Yeah, Sam was great. Sam took a turn, and that was very believable. Of course, it was great to see Chad Lindberg back, and always nice fun to go back and see some of the guest stars that we loved. Like Pamela Barnes. Yeah, I just thought this Joshua character was cool. It would have been nice to have him in the later episodes, like sort of be God's like speaking piece. I could like whisper things in his ear, and then he would say.
Well, for all we know, he does come back. I don't know.
No, I'm just saying it would be fun for me to have worked with him, and I could have been like Prince in those SNL sketches where Prince like whispers to Beyonce, and then Beyonce says, Prince says that he would like this to happen. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Anyway, I don't know that reference.
Anyway, yeah, he was great, but it was a trippy episode, very trippy. So now it's time to do your thing with the R and the R and the R.
Robin Rich ratings.
I've got mine.
I didn't like this one.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it? You
Nope.
straight up did not like it?
No, man. I thought it was really weird and going for something that I don't think worked. I think the individual elements worked in terms of Kurt Fuller being awesome, the gentleman who played the gardener, Joshua, being awesome, Sam Smith being awesome, some dark things. But no, I didn't love the conceit that they're in heaven and they're going to go. It just didn't. I don't know. I don't tell you. I just somehow it felt Supernatural's always able to do these crazy things and go on these crazy journeys while tethered to their own created reality that the show has built, and it always works. And I felt like this one, it just came a little untethered from that reality. It just wasn't as grounded a concept, even if it's heightened format. I know it's meant to be, ludicrous on the face of it that they're up in heaven running around trying to find a guy, but they usually can even tell those types of stories with a sort of a grasp on the show's own reality, and I wasn't feeling it.
All right, well, you've heard it here, folks.
Can't love them all, man. Can't love them all.
No. So what's your beer?
Well, I want to know what you thought. before I get into the facial hair
I
component.
thought it was a really trippy episode, very like an acid trip of an episode. I did not dislike it. I thought there was a lot that was interesting. Again, as someone who played God, I thought it was interesting to find out some of the lore there. It just was interesting for me to hear that stuff from season 5. And I was kind of shocked that this sort of revelation that they've traveled to heaven and come back before. So the idea that they got shot at the beginning of the episode is actually true. That happened. They died. And then they're back, they, resuscitate at the end like that. I don't know.
Right.
That was just like, so I'm holding hope that we're going to sort of maybe find out more information that will like tie up some of these loose ends.
And I mentioned, by the way, out of the great cast, obviously Chad Lindberg as well. Great to have him. Great intro. I love his arrival on screen in the wrestling outfit, and
it was hilarious.
Like I'm saying, the component parts were all great. I just felt like as an episode, it just was weird.
Yeah, well, I think Roger Aaron Brown, I think he's the actor that played Joshua.
Oh, Joshua. He's great.
Just to see Colin Ford again, and Kurt Fuller, Chad Lindberg.
I mean, and Sam Smith, it's the greatest hit.
Tracy Thunderbird Dimwitty.
Right.
It was great to see her with eyes again. That was fun.
She can see.
So my beard is, again, not perfection, but there's something there. There's a lot to unpack. It's super trippy. And therefore, for me, it's the Gandalf. It's a lot of beard.
Wow.
It needs a trim.
Okay.
It's otherworldly. It's from a completely different universe. Very sci-fi. It's Gandalf.
All right. Well, I'm going with the Freddie Mercury. I'm going with a solid mustache, and that's it. Meaning what it has, it does well. It's got a great Kurt Fuller scene, great Sam Smith scene, great Chad Lindberg.
Yeah. Killed it at Live Aid.
Great people. It killed it at Live Aid. Great actor playing Joshua. It's just, there's nothing else holding it all together to make it a beard. There's nothing all there. There's not enough there to make it a beard. It's just where it's great, it's great. Where it's a mustache, it's a great mustache. But there's nothing else there for me.
Well, hey, at least it's written some of the best rock songs in history.
Exactly. This episode gave us at least that.
Well, we have some really fun interviews for you today. Two.
Yeah, man.
2 for the price of 1. First up, we've got Mark Meloche. He worked in the visual effects department for all 15 seasons of Supernatural.
So 15-year.
That's right. And for this episode, he is credited as the visual effects supervisor and very talented.
Great guy, very intelligent.
After that, we've got our interview with the returning guest, Chad Lindberg, who, of course, you know as Ash. But first up, here's Mark.
Gentlemen, how you doing?
Hey, Mark.
Dude, hey, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
I'm actually excited to meet you guys again, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I know.
We had talked at one point at one of the meetup parties, and said you guys were a joy to work with. I got to say, I have no complaint, and I've heard lots of stories too. I didn't experience any of that, so one of the really happy ones.
One of the lucky ones.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, let's dive in, if we may. How did you come to be a part of Supernatural?
How did I become a part of Supernatural? Well, I was working on another show in San Diego at the time, and I had left where I had started, which was Lost Boy Studios for 5 years. And then I ended up moving to Andromeda, and I was there for season 5. And then I took a bit of time off, and then I came back on and I started working at the Supernatural. First of all, was an in-house facility, which means that we were on location. We were right there at the stages. We were owned by the production company. For season 1, however, it was being completed. The shots were being completed at an outsourced, a boutique facility. So it was a different Megillah as far as the way things were set up. I was brought on to work on another show, which at the time, I think it was short-lived. I think it only went 13 episodes, which was Killer Instinct. And then a little bit of Dead Zone was thrown in there. And then I ended up, and it was about show 3 when I ended up working on Supernatural. So in season 1, I actually, along with Jared Jones, who was the original lead artist for that show, Ivan Hayden was the supervisor, Grant Lindsay, the producer. And I ended up kind of co-lead artisting with Jared. And then Jared moved on to do another show. And then when the show went in-house for season 2, I was asked by Ivan Hayden to lead the art crew there. So we moved over for season 2 and became in-house, where I was lead artist for the first, so for 1, 2, and 3. And then I think it was in season 4, because I had already done supervision and Ivan knew that was kind of my goal. He was nice enough to extend the offer that he managed to work out for me. I think it was 1 show to make sure I could do it in season 3. And then in season 4, I was given 3 episodes every season, which was 13, 14, and 15, which just happened to coincide with the winter months, I may add. So that was always interesting. I learned to dress properly, including Lou Bolo, who at one point pulled me aside and said, "You're getting hypothermia," and made me leave set and go to wardrobe to get new clothes. So that's where I started. So they brought me with them to start the in-house facility, season 2 on the lot at Supernatural. For me, my joy for Supernatural for 15 seasons was the collaborative nature of what we could do on that show. It was working with the directors. It was working with the producers, and indeed working on the actors too, because I had to be cognizant of the fact that as you guys were on set, there were certain things you were in character, and there's certain things that you had to emote. There were certain things that you had to do, positions you were in, simple things like head movement. And there were certain things that we had to request that we were trying not, or at least I was trying not to kind of overwrite what you were trying to accomplish with your craft. So it was collaborative across the board. And I really think that and I was just on set the other day again for another show. And it's that was the closest thing to a collaborative approach, because they really had no idea what they were doing on the day. All of the discussions we had on the Tech Scout, they all kind of went out the window. But being in this biz for over 30 years, I'm used to that. I'm used to flying by the seat of my pants. You know, it was more of a disappointment earlier on when I had to tell a director or a producer or an actor, no, we can't do that because of this reason, you know? But now it's more, I found that I've taken more of a stand. It's more like I am here as a consultant. So here's what I think you can do. This is what you can do. And if you want to stick with the budget discussions we've already had, this is what you can't do. Because, you know, in order to build a big airplane for the shot you want, well, it's probably going to run like, I don't know, I'll pluck it in, like $27,000. Well, you're planning that for the whole shot or for a series of shots. So that ain't going to happen. So, but ultimately, again, taking that same approach, it's like, I'm just here as a consultant. You tell me what you want and we'll get as close as you can. Such a joy.
Well, I remember there was one of the things that was weird going into the world after Supernatural was because you guys were on salary. It was shots were more expensive, obviously, but we weren't hiring out the company for 4 shots. We were hiring out, you guys were just there as part of the team. So if something would happen, like, oh, we might need a visual effect that in, you go to another show and they're like, nope, that's your 4th shot, brother. You know, like we had a count. We were like, oh, we only get 4 versus like the microphone popped out. Yeah. And you're like, we'll paint it out later. You know, it was very different in the Supernatural space. Right, Robbie?
Yes, it was. And often we were called on to set. It worked both ways, I have to say. Like it was beneficial to all, because if there was something that went awry on the day, we were called in. And the thing was like, hey, can you VisFX to set, to which we would respond, VisFX traveling. And then within 2 minutes, we were on set.
Right like that, Robbie.
We had to wait. And it's like, just okay, what do you do? What's the problem? Yes, we can paint that out. If you're going to want that, we have to do this kind of thing. It was also a joy too, because as an example, there was one shot with Jared. I think he was swinging a hammer at Jensen, and it cracks the tile in the metal letter. And so they had to do the shot again because there was a missed time. To which I could say, because it was like really late and I wanted to go home too, to tell you the truth, I was like, you know what? We already have that shot. We have the clean plate. We'll take clean plate from the first shot and we're in there anyway because it was a elaborate split screen. We'll just go in and we'll just paint out that mark that's already there and just drop it back in. And so don't reset, don't put the tiles back in, don't do anything. So I got a lot of smiles on set when that would occur.
Right, sure.
You know? Yeah. Because it was a matter of saving time. And also just like the crew there too, like working with with so many directors, so many actors that we had worked with, working with Kevin Parks and Deb. They were the dream team, I gotta say. Like for me, they were always on it. They were totally collaborative. They were
talking about the first ADs.
Insistent, which so am I, which is I think why things ran smooth. So to be able to be on there, request things, they were so accommodating, the whole crew. Yeah. So I gotta, it was great that way. Big difference from being on a set where you're working and trying to collect information for a team that you don't know really what tools they're going to be using, the final product and how they see it being done, or the method that they're going to be putting it together. Yeah. When I go on set and I would make a call like that about how things we would break apart the plates. I could directly inform the artist who was working on it the methodology behind how that was going to be achieved. Whereas if I took that same approach with those plate and did it for another company, when it showed up in their hand, they would look at it and go like, what the hell is this? Like, where are we supposed to get this? And how are we supposed to get this? And why didn't we get this? You know?
Yeah. 100%.
Mark, let's talk about, so this episode we're talking about is Dark Side of the Moon. So I just have some questions about some things that happened in this episode and wondered if that fell under your umbrella or not. At the beginning of this episode, the boys get shot. They both get gunned down.
Yes.
And there's muzzle flash. Would muzzle flash be practical or is that VFX?
Muzzle flash, again, it was dependent on the proximity of the actor to the gun and also on the day. And again, timing. Did we have time to actually do it? Muzzle flashes, it never failed. Muzzle flashes were one of those, you need muzzle flash, yeah, no problem. That was like the least of my worries. Like by the time it went in and an artist worked on it, we added the interactive light, we did all those things. Thank God we had a great group of artists.
Yeah.
We could expedite those really quickly. So
yeah.
Really, even in our shot counts, when I would have to break down a script and I would bet, typically those wouldn't even go into the shot count because one, you didn't know if they were actually going to make it, what was going to be done on the day. And they were so quick to resolve that it didn't really impact our pipeline.
Wow. That's interesting. We also have a fireworks show. The boys, they kind of go back in a memory and they're lighting fireworks.
I remember that.
Was that you?
Yeah. And you know what? Actually, when I mentioned earlier about Lou and the hypothermia thing, that was the show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was
looks
actually
cold.
The show.
Yeah,
because I wasn't dressed properly. It was winter. It was raining, and it was also like, for us, it would have probably been about 5 degrees Celsius.
Right.
I don't know what Fahrenheit, guys. Sorry for all the American viewers out there. And yeah, so that was one of those things where we shot wide. They did shoot off some practical fireworks, and then we augmented with just some CG item. And then again, that was one of the joys of being able to work with Serge.
Yeah.
Right? Because he was a master. That show looked so damn good. It really did. It was, I loved working on it.
Oh, yeah.
And he was working with us, working at like as far as colors go and gels and that kind of thing. And actually, I think he was a little happy because he got a chance to use some really like some saturated colors, which are kind of contrary to what the show was. And they were like bright blues and greens and reds and whatnot. So I think he was happy about being able to go this direction for that show anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And it was handed over. And then we were using particle effects to be able to put everything back in. Another interesting thing about this show, too, is for anybody who's listening and you're a geek and you want to hear like technical details about the show, it would probably be more interesting just to talk about methodology because any of the software that we used, any part of the pipeline, the way that we had to work with 9 artists, there was 12 of us in total. There were only 9 artists for the show for the 15-year run.
Wow.
More about the methodology because by the time that we started that show till we ended that show, the things we could do were incredible. A lot of the particle effects, water sims, all that stuff, it just was out of our reach 15 years prior.
Right.
And if you're looking at the first season and what the say like the demon smoke, known as the demon turds, that's a little insider. There's a demon turd. The look between the two of them is radically different. And even that was upgraded over the course of, we could make that thing dance. And that was one of our artists, Mladen, who came up with a rig that allowed us to do so much with that. And consequently, that's part of my job too, is to be able to say they're used to hearing a methodology a certain way, the directors, the producers, for me to be able to say, you know what, we can make it do this now. It can turn a corner, it can dance, it can loop, it can do all these really amazing things. It can stop, it can halt, it can hug, and that opens up part of the collaborative discussion, which allows the directors again to be able to go to town and do what they do best. Create the things that initially, that's the reason I got into visual effects. It was not by any means the technical aspect. In fact, the button pusher, I in a way, I loathe that. However, I'm still astounded, and I was back then, with what we are able to create that is taken as real life. So that was the joy of it, I gotta say.
You have you did so much work on so many episodes over so many years. So this may be an impossible question to answer, but even if you just had to guesstimate, do you have a favorite memory or something that stands out as uniquely special from your time on the show?
Well, like I said, for me, I went in. I'm a huge sufferer of imposter syndrome. So whenever I was on set, I was a fan. I was gobsmacked. I was gobsmacked by you guys. I was gobsmacked by the process, the whole bit. So when I was working with a director like John Badham, who being, a Gen Xer that was, War Games and Short Circuit and all these
Saturday Night Fever.
Saturday Night Fever. Okay, I'll forget, but I'm gonna get back to the one that I'm talking about. But a quick story. We were on set at one point, and one of the crew members just out of the blue said something like, disco sucks. And John was on the other side of the set, and he's like, hey, I might have something to do with that. So yeah.
That's awesome.
So my working with him, one of the best episodes that I liked working on, and I can't remember the name of the episode, but it was the one with Dee Wallace. Where they're in the old age, she's in the old age complex. There's the witch that comes back, and that was one of the more elaborate ones. It was so well organized. We had gone through the logistics of it.
Yeah.
It allowed us to be able to work out the angles. I mean, it was just with the technical, the amount of information that was taken on that, because she had shot completely separate.
Right.
And we were using, and again, my apologies because it was so long ago. One of the actors who was made up, we had full CG hair on her. So she was in a bald cap and whatnot, but she was a cirque performer. And it was wild watching her, because she was able to be able to do these kind of theatrical poses. Like if someone came off, she would do like one of these. And for what we were trying to do with the hair, the motion just worked so well.
Right.
So being able to work with John in that kind of environment. And also, it's funny, like so many good directors, Jeannot Spark.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We've worked
who else?
with him.
Oh my God. Thomas J. Wright.
Yeah.
Another one. I was like, oh my God, I know you.
Yeah.
It was a blast the whole way through. So that would have been the big, only because it was such a technical feat at the time for us to be able to do that, shoot everything and merge everything together. Her appearing, her hair, which was a new concept that we had worked with that took some R&D. So that would be one of the ones that I really remember well.
That's awesome, man. I mean, you've accomplished so much on that show. A lot stands out to fans, and a lot, and this is a compliment to the work, doesn't stand out to fans because they just assumed excellence with that show for so many years.
Yeah, that is practical. Yeah.
Well, that tie with the fans, I have to say, that's the closest thing in my life I will ever experience or have experienced to celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys are used to it. I'm not. So it was interesting dealing with the fans. We used to get the most wonderful feedback from fans, and we were doing our own thing in the background too. Like we would have like little contests. Like at one point we showed it was one of the eye scoopers that was used on Jared in one of the episodes.
I remember that.
Doctor, and we would put a picture up like that from a previous season and say, hey, whoever answers this question first, where was this from? We'll donate $100 to these 3 charities, which was for the boys and Misha. So we asked them what their favorite charities was, and we donated $100 on behalf of the fan to be able to do that. That was wild. And I got freaked out at one point because we were shooting downtown and there were people there that were waiting that was like, hey, Mark.
Wow.
For a moment, I felt like one of the boys. It was great.
Yeah, well, you're a member of a very special club, the 15 season club, and
that's great. And being there for the full, I think there was. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, but I think there was like 40 of us, something like that. There were originals that started in season 1 right up to 15.
That's awesome. That's a badass club to be a member of, man. It was a great show with great work on it.
That was, again, unlike I am a lucky SOB because that is like winning the lottery. That just does not happen very often, as we all know.
It does not, and it won't happen again. Shows will not be lasting that long. It's a piece of TV history.
It was such an incredible experience that I have nothing but gratitude for all of the opportunities that I was handed on that show. And working with, it was interesting. We were kind of the redheaded stepchildren. Visual effects is always the redheaded stepchildren because that's kind of like, here are the people that come in that are going to slow down production, that they need certain things that no one really knows what we do. They know the things we do, like, they're going to use they're going to bring out their ball. They're going to bring up the silver ball and the gray ball.
Right.
They're doing HDR kind of viewing of the set, those kind of things. But other than that, once we disappear, no one really knows what the process is. They see the final result. So it was interesting. We we were either the anchor or the red-headed stepchildren. But you know what? The way that the crew came together and the methodologies that kind of gelled, it was like we were speaking our own language. And again, I was cognizant of that fact too. And we would have a new director come in and would be sitting at the table for the concept meetings or anything like that. I had to be aware that we were at that point, after that many seasons, the crew, we talked in shorthand. We had our own language. We knew the way things ran. We knew the expectation. So I was always really cognizant of the fact that when I was dealing with a director, that it was a matter of this is what we mean. This is the way we normally do it. This is the input you'll have versus the input you're probably not going to have at the end. That was another thing too, was that the directors towards the end of unless they were producers or actors, then they had way more say on the final product than anyone else did, any other director did. It was really the directors came in, they did their thing, but we went to town. And part of that was because we didn't have the luxury of being able to redo shots. Concepts were given and they were approved, and then what the final shot, which was always the very best we could do, that's what came out the other end. Yeah. So and they kept me on for that many years. So I guess something
worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
It worked in a big way, man. You were great. The whole team was great, and it led to the show being as successful as it was. It was a cornerstone of every episode what you guys did. So thanks, buddy. Appreciate it so much. Great seeing you.
Thanks a lot. And I just want to shout out to all the fans and everything too. I mean, my God, I've never experienced anything big. It's called a family, and I think it was John Marcinek that was saying, sometimes it's overused. In this case, I think that we totally defined what that means. It was such a pleasure working with you guys, and I thank you for all the help that you gave us on set. You guys rocked.
Thanks, Mark. And thank you for all you do, buddy.
All right.
Take care.
We'll see you soon.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime. Seriously.
Well, we'll do it again.
Great day,
Awesome.
guys.
Hey there, this is Jensen. I hope you're enjoying the episode, but we need to pull over for a second for some messages, and I gotta take a leak.
As a podcast network, our focus is bringing you shows you love to listen to. But we also sell merch related to those shows, and partnering with Shopify has made that both possible and simple for us to do. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor adventures, Shopify helps you sell everywhere because they've got you covered, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. What's so fantastic about Shopify is how, no matter how big you want to grow, they provide everything you need to get control of your business so you can take it to the next level. Businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/realm.
Hello, my name is Alison Larkin, and I'm a writer, comedian, and narrator and host of the Jane Austen podcast. This podcast brings Jane Austen's stories to the 21st century, along with commentary from me and conversations with fascinating people who all share a love of Jane Austen. And of course, we had to start with none other than Pride and Prejudice. So join me as we embark on a journey through some of the most wonderful stories I know. The Jane Austen podcast with Alison Larkin is available wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey there, thanks for listening. Now, back to the episode.
Man, that guy's an absolute encyclopedia of information.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
you have to have him back.
Got to have him back. And this time we need to, give him a heads up that we're talking about one episode so he can, get into the minutia with us about it, because I guarantee it'll be fascinating to see how he makes it all happen. So we'll do that for sure. And so glad he came and joined us. And now we get to have dessert after that full dinner with little Chad Lindberg.
Yeah.
So let's bring this mofo back and chat with him. Thanks for doing this, dude.
Oh man, I'm glad to finally make it to Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
I feel like it was like last year or something. It was a while ago that we were on season 2.
Yeah, man. It's kind of like Arctic melt for Rob and I to sort of, there's a lot of episodes, to get through. But we have arrived and we're here. And now we're talking about it.
That's a lot of episodes to get through.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Well,
Chad, is this your last episode?
Yeah.
Whoa. Crazy.
Yeah, I know. It was, I think, like really after like us, I say like season 5, that's kind of like when things kind of like went stratosphere. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It kind of like, they were like, oh, I don't know. And then everything, Misha came along and all this other stuff. And then it went to a whole different place.
Yeah. And and the show itself was just got bigger, and this is when the convention started and when we met.
I know. I mean, people don't realize we never worked together on the show.
I
know.
No.
I didn't work with most of the people that I consider friends from the show. I didn't work with. I mean,
no, but we have literally traveled the world together.
I mean, we might have talked about this last time, but one of my favorite memories is the first time we were all in Rome together.
Mm-hmm.
It was the three of us and Sebastian, I think, walking around Rome.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, man. And I mean, that's amazing. Traveling the world, having those experiences and those memories.
Yeah.
Supersedes being on set, in my opinion. I mean, being on set and doing the show, amazing, of course. But we're out there doing.
It's the unexpected gift that keeps.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Now we're talking about this being your last episode, which of course is a bummer.
Yeah.
If you're the actor playing the role, but at the same time, because I'm sure you like us never knew when the phone call was going to happen that you'd be brought back. So this had to be a pleasant surprise that they called to say, "Hey, come do another one."
You know what was funny about this, and this came along when Twitter was actually Twitter, and it was like Twitter was brand new, and this was before I think you were on it, Richard, because I remember seeing you at an audition, and I was like, yo, you got to get on Twitter. And you were like, what? Really? And I'm like, yeah, you got to get on Twitter, dude. And this was a thing that I led on back in the day. I was like, let's get Ash back on Supernatural. And they made so much noise that actually happened. So the reason that I was brought back was because of the early days of Twitter when we led something on Twitter to get done.
Wow.
And you know that for a fact?
Yes.
that definitely is led to it?
Yes, because Eric Kripke said it to me as I was brought back, saying, man, they really love you. They're like, we had to bring you back. And I'm like, right on. So I attribute that episode to fans, the Supernatural family getting me back. That was
awesome.
It.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what a great way to have the Ash back on, because we don't see you die. We just hear that you died. So
right. Of course,
this is a great time to sort of bring him back into the loop and have the boys interact with him again in a kind of really cool and unique way.
Yeah.
So did you have input on the wrestling costume? Was that your bit or was that already in there?
No, that was in there in the script, and I thought it was because Ash is such a big character, and his entrances always need to be grandiose. So I and that was a certain grandiose way of getting Ash back. So I had no idea they were going to do that, but I thought it was brilliant.
It's hilarious.
It was great. And I'll tell you, the guy watching the episode, and I'm sure your name was in the credits at the top, but I didn't see that.
Right.
So when the wrestling character left out, I'm like, who the bleep am I about? Who is this?
Amazing.
It was a great surprise reveal for me.
I knew you were in it because I saw the guest star names, and as soon as I heard your voice, I was like, that's Chad. So funny.
Amazing.
And it really did seem like something you would have brought in. Like, guys, I've just got this. I don't know how you want to use it, but I've got it.
They know him well.
No, the writers knew. They somehow knew that it would work. And it was, I think, one of my favorite episodes. It was just had everything in it. It's
a great episode for you. And also you're so comfortable with the role now too. You're like, you know what I mean? We know who this is. And so you're really you're showing the greatest hits of who this guy is. And it was
exactly.
great. I thought it is, I think, my favorite of your episodes for that reason,
So, well, obviously Ash was dead now. So, he could kind of be and do anything that he wanted to be.
Yeah.
And, showcase heaven in a fun way. You know, it's just
That's a
solid
great
episode.
dialogue too, man. It's a great dialogue for your character in this episode.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
the Kama Sutra, meeting the author of the Kama Sutra.
Yeah. I have fond memories of that episode, and one of the big ones was shooting a beer. And funny enough, I had never shot a beer. I'm not a drinker, so I just had never done it before. And Jensen was like, "Oh, you've never shot it," terrible Jensen impression. But he's like, "Oh, I'll show you." So he literally showed me how to shoot the beer. And for people that don't know, these things smell and taste terrible. It's like
It's a fake beer, right?
Yeah, fake beer. It's awful. And so literally, he showed me how. And then as we're shooting, and a lot of people see this in the blooper reel, I'm taking a beer and I'm shooting it, but I don't realize that all the beer is coming out of the wrong way and going all over my mullet, all the way down my wardrobe.
My God.
Oh
And
my God.
I look over and I see Jed and Jensen, and they had tears in their eyes and trying not to break. And then finally, Jensen had yelled "cut," and then everybody started laughing. And it was a good icebreaker because it was just a hard day on set, but that kind of like turned the mood.
Right.
So
Why was it a hard day on set?
for some reason, maybe people are grumpy, but we're all just kind of like, everyone's just trying to find a day. And it was just, hadn't quite found its little magic yet. Everyone's maybe a little groggy, a little tired. I don't know. It just didn't have. And then once that happened, everybody started laughing, and then it just kind of like fell into its groove.
So you really shot that beer.
Well, it came out the wrong way. So when I was doing it, it literally was pouring all over my mullet and everything.
Right.
But I didn't see it. I didn't know it was happening while it was going on. So everybody was laughing at me, except I didn't know. So I just kept doing my dialogue.
It's amazing.
So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
man.
I love the shot.
You got two Texas guys there. They've shotgunned their way through a few beers. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, they have.
They've done their homework.
They shotgun their way to set.
Right.
So
maybe that's why people are cranky. They didn't like the way you were spilling beer.
Maybe.
Kind of a
I don't
big
blame them.
no-no.
I don't blame
Texas
them.
culture.
One of my favorite pieces of this is when there's a shot of Jensen talking to Thunderbird Dimwitty, who is now known as Thunderbird Dimwitty, right, Tracy?
Talking to Pamela.
Pamela, yeah.
Oh, right. Yes.
And then in the background is you and Sam looking at reading the computer, and you're like, you give a couple horns with your hand,
Yeah.
I just love that.
Yeah, because she was saying that we had killed Ash, and then I overheard and said, "I'm cool with it."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That was great.
Because again, Ash can do whatever he wanted to do now. It was not limited to,
Yeah.
And I know we were talking about the great dialogue before. I loved the Disneyland without anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Right.
It actually made me stop and go, yeah, that's hilarious. Wait, now I need to think about the anti-Semitism at Disneyland. Because I think it's a funny joke. I'm not 100% sure I know what the anti-Semitism at Disneyland is, but it definitely sounds like something that might actually exist, or it's just a fictional joke. I don't know, but it was very funny.
So I think we've talked about it before, but describe to me what the hairpiece was. Where did it start? What did it clip onto? What was it?
So what's funny about the mullet is there's a significant difference between the mullet in season 2 and season 5. And I'll tell you why. The hair, everything took about an hour and a half to put on.
Whoa.
And it was basically an extension piece. And she would clip it in the back, right? And it would take a while to kind of like get everything in place. And of course, you got to do the business part. A lot of hairspray. So Ash took about an hour and a half to put together.
Wow.
And then once the mullet went on, I was just free. Everybody enjoyed the mullet. So after season 2, I was like, they killed me off. So, of course, you're not coming back. This was you can die in Supernatural and come back. This was like season 2. So you were not coming back, right?
Right.
So I was given the mullet. So I had it at home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So cut to a couple years later, I had an audition to play a guy with a mullet. And my neighbor was a hairdresser. And I was like, hey, man, can you just like make this like fun? Can you take it down a little bit, so I can switch it up? Because I didn't want to go in there as Ash. I wanted to mix it up. He's like, yeah. So he kind of put it on. He took a couple inches off, right? And he kind of like finessed it, made it sexy. Well, I kid you not, it must have been maybe 2 weeks later, and I got the call that I was being brought back on Supernatural.
Oh my God.
I got a panicked call from her, and she was like, tell me you have the mullet. And I'm like, yeah, I've got the mullet. It looks a little different, but not too different. So when you look in season 5, the mullet is a little shorter, and it's a little like vibrant, and it's a little bit more sexy.
Mhm.
In season 2, it's longer and more like studious and kind of like, so.
So,
So
it is the same.
Just to connect the dots here.
Yeah.
You do we see in season 2, and then when they go back, oh, no, that's not true. Never mind. My theory's blown. Because we see you on the telephone and then you die. So we would have seen it right before. I was thinking there's a gap. For all we knew, Ash had a haircut, but that's not true. It doesn't work.
Right.
Because we see you on the phone and then it blows up.
So it was the same exact piece. It just was
Same
finessed
exact
different.
piece, just cut.
Interesting.
And yeah, it had a couple inches taken off. No one said anything. Production never noticed. No one ever. But if you go back and look, there is a different cut to the mullet.
Chad,
that's great.
Chad, in terms of your career, is this before or after Fast and Furious?
Oh, this was after.
After. It was
Wait, this was after. This was after Fast came out that I had booked Supernatural.
the whole thing. The whole Ash was after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this
You
came later
say
on.
the whole Ash. It's
Yeah, man.
like the Ash hole.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of the
Exactly.
hole.
The asshole.
Robert.
And, yeah, man.
classic
Do you guys remember your auditions for Supernatural?
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, I don't remember who.
Yeah.
Remember, it was like producers were in the room, but I can't remember who it was.
Right.
But I remember it, and it was one of those. For me, it was one of those ones where there was no one else in the waiting room, so I didn't have that thing where you get like that your mind where you're like, oh, it's gonna be
Right,
that
yeah.
guy's gonna get it.
Yeah.
So I was in.
Did we talk to you about your audition for this when we first interviewed you?
I think so. I think so. I think we did. Because I walked into a full room of actors, man. There must have been 25, 30 dudes. And I was like, what do I got to do here to stand out? So I went into the room. I said hi to everybody. And they said, whenever you're ready. And I turned around and I unbuttoned my shirt all the way. And then I started the scene by whipping open my bare chest.
That's right.
Yeah. And that was it. I got the call later that night.
Wow, gutsy.
That's solid.
Yeah.
That's a move.
Are we gonna see you at any conventions anytime soon?
Man, I hope so. I mean, I love going just to see you guys.
Yeah,
And of
I know,
course, the
same.
series, obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like them just because it's like everyone just wants to have fun.
Yeah.
Wants to do a little karaoke, wants to go in the green room and talk a little, little shop.
Yeah.
Little smackola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob Benedict do his thing.
You know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't have anything supernatural wise lined up anytime soon. But
Well, we got to get you in there.
It can turn any moment.
Absolutely. Well, we always love seeing you, and this is such a great episode for you. Like I said, it's really funny. You got in an episode where they do revisit a lot of older guest stars. I felt like you got a really good solid chunk. I was like, this was how many days of shooting was this for you? Do you remember?
It was just one.
Really?
I think so. It was just maybe one, maybe two, because the whole outside stuff was
Maybe it was a
on
different
location
day.
somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking maybe it was a couple of days, just because there was.
I think it was maybe 2 days.
This was 2 days. I was going to ask because it was like it's one area, one location, but it's a lot going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, guys. And now what I hear as rumblings, but I see this possible reboot business.
Yeah, I don't know how realistic that is.
I don't know. I'm going to assume that's the internet doing what the internet does when it creates.
But hey, that internet did what they
whatever.
Internet did what they did and brought Chad back to the show. So you never know.
You never know, man.
Right?
You never know, man.
Yeah.
You never know. I suppose.
So Ash could still live. He could still live on.
You could get more of the whole Ash.
the asshole.
Bingo. Dude, thank you for doing this again.
My
I really
pleasure,
appreciate
boys.
it.
Yeah, man.
And I love that you did it from a vintage car.
That's what I'm saying. A little class, a little character, and I
Amazing.
love you guys, man. Thank you.
Love you too,
Really
man.
great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Right back at you, man. Hope to see you soon.
You will.
Love you, buddy.
Peace.
Hey there, this is Jared Padalecki, and I hope you're enjoying the episode. But we gotta pull over for a second for some messages. Thank you for supporting Supernatural then and now. And now, back to the show.
Well, that was great. That was awesome.
It's always great.
Great.
I just saw that Chad was in a classic car in the garage. Classic Chad.
Yeah, I know. It was very on brand.
Very Chad.
With his... But yeah, it was great to talk to Chad, our buddy, and to talk to Mark, too, for the price of one. How great.
And now,
yes,
it's time for... Mythology.
Castiel mentions the Axis Mundi running through heaven. Rich, tell us about the Axis Mundi.
Well, the Axis Mundi, or world axis, is a concept found in various cultures and religions representing a central port or connection between the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. This axis is often depicted as a vertical structure, such as a tree, mountain, pillar, ladder, or mustache, symbolizing the link between different realms of existence.
Okay.
It serves as a metaphysical bridge linking the mundane with the divine, much like your mustache links your upper lip with your lower lip.
Or linking you to me.
Exactly. Wait, am I the bad one? Damn it.
Yeah.
Providing a focal point for spiritual practices and beliefs.
In many cultures, sacred trees represent the Axis Mundi.
Great band.
For example, the Yggdrasil in Norse mythology is a giant ash tree that connects the 9 worlds. Or in Greek mythology, there is the river Styx. And in the classic rock world, there's just Styx. Sacred mountains like Mount Olympus in Greek mythology or Mount Meru in Hindu and Buddhist traditions are seen as the physical manifestations of the world axis.
Well, hopefully you learned something from that big chunk of mythology. And if not, hopefully you fell asleep and caught up on your rest. Bang, 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 wake up. It's time for...
So the title of the episode is named after one of Pink Floyd's albums, Dark Side of the Moon. Damn it! Now I can't name my album that.
You know what? If you just move that apostrophe S over, I feel like the singer Pink should have a Floyd album. So we could say, it's Pink's Floyd album. She should have an album that's called Floyd, and that's her Floyd album.
Yes.
The German title is Sonnenfinsternis, which translates to solar eclipse. And the Japanese title for this episode loosely translates into The Happy Fun Boat That Kills You.
The episode was originally titled Your Whole Life Flashes Before Your Eyes.
Which is also incredibly boring.
Well, also, it's like, it just tells you what the whole...
It's a tad on the nose, right?
Yeah. It's like changing channels, being called like when the trickster comes and changes the show around.
It's the rough draft version.
Yeah.
Sam and Dean are staying in the Econo King Motel when they're killed. This might be a play on words for Enochian, or, and go with me here, it might not be.
It might just mean econo, as in economy. Economically friendly. Ash describes heaven as Disneyland, and the 2 hunters who kill Sam and Dean are named Walt and Roy. Walt Disney Brothers' name is Roy. And
who picked up on that, dude?
Rich.
This guy.
He's a big Disney guy, picked up on that.
Chad Lindberg and director Jeff Wolno had previously worked together on an episode of Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Oh, man, we should ask him about that.
We should have read the fun facts before the interview. Yeah. Well, great episode, fun having, and when I say great episode, I mean it from a mustache perspective, a Freddie Mercury mustache perspective. But seriously, great performances all around in the episode. A lot to love, even if it's not a beloved episode, at least by me. But still, I've enjoyed watching great actors do great stuff, including Sam and Dean and Ash and Zachariah and Mary and
Castiel.
all the greats. Castiel, Joshua.
Yeah, phoning it in on this episode.
Young Sam.
Misha really phoned it in on this episode. See, that's a joke because he was like on the phone. Oh, God.
Kind of like that SNL skit with Beyonce and...
Everybody knows that skit. It's a classic skit. Prince, and he whispers things to Beyonce because he doesn't really talk to people.
I don't know.
Just because you don't know it. You mustache rating. Just like we don't love every episode, we don't always love each other. That's okay, too.
Frustrated Rob is my favorite Rob. You know that. All right. Thanks, everybody. This is a good one. We'll keep going, and we're just, we're on a roll. So here we go.
All right. This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester, Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester, and Misha Collins as Castiel.
The all-star guest cast includes Roger Aaron Brown, Thunderbird Dinwiddie, Colin Ford, Kurt Fuller, Chad Lindberg, and Samantha Smith.
Dark Side of the Moon was written by Andrew Dabb and Daniel Laughlin and directed by Jeff Woolnough.
Editing by Anthony Pinker, music by Jay Gruska.
Executive produced by Eric Kripke and Robert Singer.
The original broadcast of this episode featured the following songs: Knockin' on Heaven's Door by Robert Zimmerman, who actually changed his name as a young lad in Minnesota to be folk legend Bob Dylan.
And also, What a Way to Go by Jesse Turnbow.
This episode originally aired on April 1st, 2010. Just kidding! April Fools! It actually aired on April 1st, 2010.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Spade Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Hulsher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty. Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at SPN Then and Now.
And become a member of the podcast at www.patreon.com/SPN Then and Now. Hi, everybody. This is Rob Benedict.
I'm Richard Baker.
And Richard Spade is eating his lunch. You back? Are you good?
No, you guys froze, but now you're unfrozen. That was
And you're
weird.
acting like we froze, but your computer froze. Like we
You're
didn't.
froze.
Like
Dude,
he was
you
moving, I was
froze.
moving. We're still moving.
No, you weren't. I was moving. Over here, I was moving.
No, I know we saw you because you weren't frozen for us.
Story Mill Media.
Hey folks, I'm Yen.
And I'm Nat.
And we're the hosts of Comic Sans, the podcast about comics for those who are sans knowledge.
Comic Sans is a show for people who know nothing about comics, like me.
And people who love them, like me, and want to learn more about them.
What makes you an authority on comic books?
I read them, write them, live them, breathe them. What makes you the authority on knowing nothing?
Honestly, Yen, 2 seasons in, I actually know a little more than I used to.
You're welcome. The reason for that is that every episode I make Nat read one of my favorite comics, like Daredevil Saga or This One Summer.
And then he tells me what makes that comic so special.
And then I hear what Nat thinks and I try to avoid a pulmonary embolism.
While I actively try to give him one.
You can listen to the second season of Comic Sans now.
With new episodes every 2 weeks.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
You know, Yen, I think I know so much about comics now that this might have to be our last season.
Nat, there will forever be more comic than you will ever know.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. It sounds profound though. Right?